Prince Boji, this dude born to these mega-sized parents. Right? But like, seriously, this bro is the shortest dude in the whole kingdom of Basse. Like, super tiny. He's also deaf, a bit naive, and basically the weakest dude ever. But here's the thing, this guy's got mad courage, always walking around with his head held high. You know, his days are basically chillin' in the fields, playing with all the animals. Since he's kinda different, you know, deaf and stuff, he doesn't really hang with other kids. Like, there's always some misunderstanding, and people be hating on him. One day, he meets this shadow dude named Cage. First thing Cage does, tries to rob Boji of his clothes. Like, seriously, points a knife at him and stuff. Boji, being Boji, is kinda slow on the uptake, but he reads Cage's lips and starts doing whatever Cage says. Cage tells him to strip, and Boji's like, sure man, no problem, and does it the next day, same spot, no questions asked. Cage is like, dude, are you serious? You're way too easy. But then Boji's like, nah man, I actually like hanging with you. And they become bros. Every day, Boji wears extra clothes so Cage can steal them. And he goes home naked. One day, Boji brings Cage home. His stepmom, Queen Hyling, starts dissing him again. Like always. Why are you always naked? She yells. Boji starts crying, but then he puts on his brave face. Cage sees this and starts feeling all bro-EY towards him. Then Boji goes to see his dad, King Bosse. This dude's ranked number 7 in the whole kingdom, a real boss. King Bosse tells Boji, yo, you gotta get strong. This kingdom needs a badass king. So he orders this super strong dude named Dimas to teach Boji how to sword fight. Dimas is like, challenge accepted, and starts training Boji. But then, bam, here comes Prince Data, Boji's half-bro. This dude's huge, ripped, and way stronger than Boji. He challenges Dimas to a duel, and Boji's like, whoa, this is intense. Dimas loses to Data. He's like, dude, you're as strong as our dad, King Bosse. Boji steps up, like, I'll protect you, Dimas, and pulls out his own sword. Word gets around, and everyone's like, OMG, a duel! They all gather to watch. Data attacks, but Boji dodges like a ninja. He even lands some sweet counterattacks, hitting Data on the head with a super light touch. Everyone's shocked. Even Cage is cheering him on. Data gets super mad, and Dimas is like, whoa, hold up. He signs something to Boji, but Boji stops dodging. Big mistake. Data starts beating him up, and Boji's crying like a baby. It gets brutal, man. Then, suddenly, Asclepius, the king's swordmaster, throws a spear and stops the fight. Data wins, but Boji's all beat up. Boji's lying in bed, all bandaged up. He remembers what Dimas signed. Your style isn't fit for a king. He tries to pick up a normal-sized sword, but he's too small and weak. He starts crying again, and then Cage throws a coin at him. Boji turns around, wipes his tears, and tries to act cool in front of Cage. Cage is like, dude, don't sweat it. Your style is totally unique. To change the subject, Boji shows Cagey where his clothes are. Cage is like, from now on, I ain't taking nothing from you. I'm on your side. Cadiz stays by Boji's side while he sleeps. Then, someone enters the room. It's a woman, you can tell by her feet and the way her dress flows. Cagey's like, oh, here we go. But then, she puts her hands on Boji, and they glow green. Magic. She's healing him. Cagey's like, whoa, that was unexpected. Later, Cage meets Bizibin, the snake guy who teaches Data how to sword fight. Remember Bibin? He tried to kill Cage when Cage first came to the castle. Now they're face to face again. The next day, the king dies. They read the will. And guess what? Boji's the new king. Everyone's shocked. But then, Queen Hyling, that evil stepmom, rips up the will. Data's the new king now. Boji's heart is broken, and he runs off to cry. Bibin finds Boji and tells him that Cagey's gone on a journey. You'll never see him again, Bibin says. But Boji's not gonna give up. He goes to see Mitsumata, the giant snake he saved. Mitsumata tells Boji that Bibin captured KJ, but let him go on an important mission. He's not gonna hurt him, Mitsumata says. Boji remembers how he was chosen to be king, but everyone was like, no way, he's too weak. Kadish promised to be by his side, but now he's gone on some mysterious journey. Boji's like, I gotta find him. He tries to tell the queen, but she's all over my dead body. So Boji decides to run away. He climbs out the window, using a rope he made. But then, the queen bursts in. Dorsha, her bodyguard, pulls him back up. But Boji struggles, and the rope breaks. He falls to the ground. The queen freaks out. She's like, no! And starts glowing green again. She's healing him just like that time she healed him in his room. The queen remembers how hard she tried to connect with Boji, and it softens her heart. Finally, she lets him go on his journey. She even gives him Dimas as his teacher, and Hokuro as his personal assistant. Boji's off on an adventure. They reach a village, and Boji's like, I'm free. He runs off to see puppets, buy stuff at the market, and even sleeps by a fountain. Dimas and Hokuro find him later, but his bag is gone. Hokuro's like, I'm so screwed. They get dinner and try to figure out what to do. The next day, they find his bag on the street. With all their stuff back, they're back on the road. They're walking through these crazy valleys and forests when suddenly, Boji spots a butterfly. He chases it and bam, falls into a giant pit filled with spears. A super weird dude with spears lives there. He kills a wild pig and shares it with Bojiji. They even dance. But then, crazy things start growing out of the dead pig. The spear dude explains that he creates new life from dead things. And then he wants to do the same with Boji. Boji escapes and meets back up with Dimas and Hokuro. They set up camp, but someone throws poisoned knives at Boji's food. A bunch of dogs eat the poisoned meat and die. The next day, they reach a town with this huge hole of fire in the ground. It's called the Gates of Hell. Dimas tells Hokuro to find a place to stay, and he takes Boji to see the Gates of Hell. Dimas pushes Boji into the fire pit, but somehow, Boji lands safely. And guess what? Cage appears from his bag. They hug and cry like crazy. Kaji tells Boji he's been watching him the whole time, even when he almost ate the poisoned meat. Baibin sent him to help Boji meet someone who will make him strong. They start heading deeper into the underworld. But then they smell gas. They pass out, and these two guys grab them and take them to another kingdom, a kingdom in the underworld. When they wake up, they meet King Desha, ranked number 2 in the whole kingdom. This dude starts making fun of Bojiji, calling him weak and saying he doesn't deserve to be king. King Desha's like, what do you want? Keiji's like, we're here to see the strongest dude in the kingdom, the one who can make anyone a king. Desha's like, that's me. He orders one of his knights to test Boji. This knight is a total badass. A captain of the underworld knights, Boji tries his best, throwing his usual super light punches. The knight realizes what's going on and just stands there. Desha starts laughing. So weak, he says. Keiji's like, hold on. He's dodging perfectly. Desha tells Boji to keep dodging, and he does. He's like a ninja. All the knights are amazed. Desha's still not impressed. He can survive, but he can't win, he says. He can't even break through armor, even after KD begs him. Dakesha refuses to train Bojiji. There's no talent to refine, he says. They're kicked out of the kingdom. Kaiji encourages Boji. Don't give up. You can do it. Boji tries to lift a huge rock, then a smaller rock. He can't lift anything. He starts crying. Cage hugs him. The knight who fought Boji tells them, take this letter to Prince Despa. He's the one you need to see. Turns out, King Desha was just messing with them. He's rivals with Prince Despa. After thanking the knights, they meet Despa. They tell him why they're there. Despa's like, alright, but it'll cost ya. Kaji pays him, and they go inside. Despa reads Boji's hands. You're weak, he says. Like, seriously weak. But Despa still agrees to train him. Boji and Cage get settled in. The next morning, Boji wakes up early and does all the chores. He even makes a giant breakfast for himself. Despa starts training Boji hard. Day after day, Boji trains with all his might. One day, Cage hears a boom. He rushes to the training room. He's not supposed to go in. He asks if everyone's okay. The door opens a crack, and Kage sees Boji standing in front of a rock. Split in half, the door closes, and Keiji's like, whoa, what just happened? Finally, Boji finishes his training. He's mastered all of Despa's techniques. They're about to celebrate when Kenij notices a sword on Boji's hip. Boji swings it, and Keiji's impressed. But then he sees the sword. It's tiny, like a needle. Despa's like, what's wrong? Keiji's like, a needle? That's his sword? Despa's like, what do you mean? Keiji apologizes to Boji. 3 monsters from the underworld show up and start dissing Despa. Look at this loser, they say. Despa punches one of them so hard, he regrets it immediately. The monsters beat him up, and Boji tries to help, but he gets pushed aside. Then, Boji dodges a few attacks and lands a super light punch on one monster's chin. The monster just falls over. Boji's like, whoa, what? Boji draws his needle sword and dodges some more attacks. Then, bam. He stabs the monster. It screams, but it's still alive. Kadij freaks out, thinking Boji killed him, but the monster's just passed out. Despa explains that Boji's punches are super precise. He hit the right spot, and the stab was perfect. No major damage. Keiji's like, way to go, Boji. They head home, but Despa stops them. He runs off and pays the monsters for the fight. Later, Kade tells Boji what's been happening in the castle. Babin told him everything. Boji's like, what if Queen Hilling tries to kill me? He starts hitting himself in the head. Keiji's like, dude, chill. Despa tells Boji to love himself and be brave. A bunch of badass underworld knights show up, while Despa's still saying goodbye to Boji. They're here to take Boji home, because some serious criminals from the underworld have invaded the kingdom. King Dehutcha sent them to escort Boji back safely. The knights explain how these criminals got into the kingdom. Kageesh keeps encouraging Boji, reminding him how strong he's become after training with Despa. Finally, they reach the kingdom, and chaos erupts. A super dangerous criminal named Uken is attacking the people. He's known as the Sword of the Underworld, and he's wreaking havoc. The knight who's supposed to fight him is waiting for Despa to arrive. Boji's like, I gotta help, but the knight stops him. Despa said you're no match for Uken, he warns. The knight tells Boji to go to the castle and protect Queen Helling. Boji and Keiji rush towards the castle. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.